Listen, I have been addicted to Pokemon lately. Like the type of addicted when your 2-week Minecraft phase comes around every year. It's been really bad. But let me tell you what, the Pokemon community has some awful takes, man. No, I'm not saying that one opinion is better than another one, but you know what? Maybe I am saying that. No, I am saying that. This video is gonna kind of be all over the place because I don't really have one set topic, but it's my video. Leave me alone. Alright, let's just get it out of the way. Gen 3 had by far the best legendary Pokemon. Now, I'm really only talking about the core 3 of every game. So, Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos, Entei, Suicune, and Raikou, and Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza. I know there's other legendary trios, but I'm just trying to give an example. But I mean, looking at these 3 Pokemon's designs, they just make me feel something for once in my life. I will say Gen 4's trio is definitely my runner-up, but I mean, I just can't get over the fact that they all just look like spiky turtles. I'm fine with people saying that Gen 4 legendaries are better than Gen 3. I think it's understandable, although I disagree. But after Gen 4, I feel like the design and design quality just went through the floor, man. It dropped so quick. The Gen 5 legendaries are really cool, and I think that they're the last trio of legendary Pokemon that I can really say is good. Do I like them as much as Gen 4 and Gen 3? No, but they have their qualities. But for me, Gen 6 is where it's all over.
It's all over.
I think Zygarde is really cool, but Xerneas and Yveltal, I don't really know how to describe it. They just seem uninspired. And it's unfortunate that Zygarde is not one of the box art legendaries. Like, Xerneas to me just sucks, man. I think they were just making a super basic looking deer, and they just thought to themselves, how can we make this any better? So they just gave him rainbow horns, which I think is kinda cool, but I feel like a legendary's coolness shouldn't just come from one part. Now, although Gen 6 had some redeeming qualities, Gen 7 is just terrible to me. Like, I look at Solgaleo, and then I look at Groudon, and I'm like, who ever thought that this Pokemon could even compare? Same thing with Necrozma and Rayquaza. Like, seriously, guys, he looks like the freaking crystal dude from Skylanders. Alright, let's get real. Flareon is by far the worst evolution. Even with these concept art evolutions, Flareon he sucks. He sucks. D tier. Now that I think we have a good baseline, I think we gotta work our way up from here. Titanion, this is the concept art of the metal evolution. I think it's slightly better than Flareon, so we're going D. And you know what? The rest of these are pretty cool, so I think that's the only ones we're gonna have in D tier. Can't go wrong with Eevee, simple design, C tier. Therion, the ground evolution concept art, that's going a little bit above Eevee. I think next is Petreon, the rock concept art evolution. I don't know, it doesn't speak enough to me to go in B tier. I think if it had a little bit more color, it would break B tier. Next is the normal evolution. Good design, gets the job done, B tier. Next I think is Espeon. I feel like too many people rate Espeon way too high on their evolution list. It's good, but it's not S. Next I think is this poison evolution, Toxeon. Cool concept, good execution, top of B.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Drakeon is the dragon concept art. I think I'm actually gonna put it behind Espeon. I think it's definitely the hardest to pull off a dragon evolution, but I think they did an okay job. Next I think is Jolteon. Got a real crisp design to it, if you know what I mean. It's simple, it knows what it wants to do, it knows what it wants to be, and it gets the job done. So we're gonna put that at the top of B. Mirateon? Alright, we're just gonna call it Ghosteon. Ghosteon, I think, is the first one that cracks A tier. It's kind of freaking me out that it only has 2 legs, but I kind of dig it. It's also got those terrifying beady red eyes, but it's going first one in A. Next, I like Umbreon. I definitely say it's the most simple evolution, but something about that black and gold, man. Oh man, it just speaks to me. Slightly above Umbreon, I like this fighting concept art evolution. It's got boxing tape, looks like it's ready to rumble, so I think it just beats out Umbreon, but it's close. Next I like this Testion. This is the bug concept. I didn't think anybody could make a bug Pokemon look cool, and lo and behold, it looks pretty cool, but doesn't quite crack S tier. Now we're into the top of the line Eeveelutions, the creme de la creme. It's the best of the best, man. Firstly, I mean, you either love Glaceon or you hate Glaceon, and I am a Glaceon enthusiast, man. Right above it, I think we got Leafeon. I think it's the best evolution, besides Vaporeon, which we'll get to later, that really identifies with its type. Like, you can really see that it's a grass type, so that's why I think it beats out Glaceon. But yeah, it's going in S. Next, I really like this flying concept art. When I was researching for this, I was really wondering how they would make a flying Eevee work, and they made it work. This concept art, like, looks phenomenal, so it's going top of S for me. Lastly, I purposefully avoided this Pokemon for some reasons. I think the Pokemon community likes Vaporeon a little bit too much. And I feel like it's bad if I put it in S tier, but I definitely can't put it anywhere below that. I think we're just gonna slide them in right here. And yeah, that is the only correct way to rank the Eeveelutions. Alright, so listen, I know double battles and triple battles are technically gimmicks, but I really only want to talk about the ones that are game changing. Like the Mega Evolutions, the Dynamaxing, the Crystal one in Scarlet and Violet that changes their type or whatever, and the Z moves. Now, I didn't play Sun and Moon, but from watching reviews around it, I got that people didn't really like the Z moves, or they were just kinda whatever. And from what I can tell, that seems like it's the same thing with Scarlet and Violet. Now, why I want to bring this up is because Game Freak, I think you're doing it all wrong. I think instead of changing the gimmick every single time in one of their new games, I think that they should just have one set system that's ever rotating. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, this is where we get into typing. Right now, there are currently 18 types in the game, and I don't think anybody's complaining with that number. In fact, I think it's a very good number. I think you're just reaching that threshold where older players have something to constantly think about, as in the type chart, but you're also not overwhelming new players. But my theory is it's going to eventually get old. Like, you can't just stick with the same 18 types for the rest of Pokemon's lifespan. Now, my idea is that each game, instead of adding some random new gimmick that everyone has to learn again, I think you rotate in new types of Pokemon. Like, for the next game, maybe you cycle out like Psychic typing and Ground typing and add in some new types like Beast typing or like Wind typing. Then you're still keeping that old type chart that everybody knows, but you're adding a little bit of spice to it. Now, you can probably keep the core 3 with every game, being Grass, Water, and Fire, but I think besides those, you can rotate out any of them. Now, this does come with the problem of, well, if you cycle out, for example, Psychic, then where do all the Psychic Pokemon go? That's the only problem with it. Any Pokemon who have the type that you're cycling out that respective game are gonna be put in the vault until most likely the next game. But we gotta live in the real world for a second, people. It doesn't look like Game Freak has any intention of adding every Pokemon into every game. We saw that with Sword and Shield, we saw that with Arceus. It's just not gonna happen. So this way, Game Freak doesn't have to add all the Pokemon in. They just have to add in the ones with the types that are prevalent that year. Is this a bold idea? Absolutely. But I also don't think it's a bad idea. I'm sure it would require some tweaking as far as balancing goes, but I think I believe in Game Freak just enough for me to believe that they could actually pull it off. These are some stupid looking Pokemon. Okay, this one's gonna get a little spicy. Listen, I'm just gonna slap it on the table and just say what needs to be said. Sword and Shield is not a bad game, you're just mad that you can't obtain all the Pokemon. It's true! Now listen, I completely understand that Sword and Shield has its issues. But I mean, are we really gonna go around nitpicking one game? But I mean, if you go around looking for issues in any video game, you're gonna find them. And I feel like that is what so many people are doing. Before I actually started Sword and Shield, the 3 biggest complaints that I heard was that it didn't have a good story, that there were some rendering issues, and that obviously you couldn't transfer in every Pokemon into the game. So I got the game, I completed the main story, and let me tell you what, anyone who's calling this a bad game has clearly never played any of these games. These games are bad. First off, anybody calling the story bad or unrealistic, have you played a Pokemon game before? Half of the time, the plot relies on a young child who literally just got their starter to like, oh, I don't know, save the world. And that same plot happens like 20 times, man. Did it have a phenomenal story? No, but at least it was cohesive and made, at the very least, some sense. But I mean, I'm really sitting here and I'm thinking, is the story really a selling point in a Pokemon game? Like, is that really what you guys are concerned about? I think a story helps you get immersed into the game. But I mean, honestly, I think if Game Freak just made a Pokemon game with absolutely no story, I wouldn't really even care. I'm not playing a Pokemon game to get in my feels or learn about a philosophical ideology. I'm here to freaking catch Snorlax and spam Giga Impact and rest. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if story is a big selling point for you in a video game, then you shouldn't be out here playing Pokemon. You should probably be playing this one, or you know what, maybe even this one, but not Pokemon. Now, secondly, let's talk about the rendering issues. I gotta be honest. Yeah, they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. But at least for me, getting to see the Pokemon walk around in the overworld just trumped every rendering issue that the game had, at least for me. Now, a big argument that I was hearing for the rendering was, well, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was so good, so why wasn't Pokemon Sword and Shield nearly as good? And guys, I mean, Zelda Breath of the Wild was in development for 5 years. Sword and Shield was in development for just under 2 years. I'm surprised the rendering distance wasn't like 2 feet, considering that they only had 2 years. Games like Pokemon that are in high demand have to be cutting some corners. Now listen, don't you dare think that I'm a corporate zombie that just exists to defend Game Freak. I think that they have made a plethora of bad decisions. But you listen here, I was an Overwatch fan. I've seen a developing company sabotage their games firsthand. And let me tell you what, you Pokemon fans have it good. I've experienced things you can't even imagine, which means I have to give credit where credit is due. Now for the final reason, and I think the most popular reason for the game being called bad, was that it's the first game that you couldn't transfer in any Pokemon that you wanted. But listen, it's again just like I said. Game Freak had 2 years to develop this game. And the truth is, developing animations for over 1,000 Pokemon is incredibly difficult, especially again with the time frame that they had. Overwatch 2 had like 3 years, and all that we got was 1 game mode, like 3 maps, and 1 new hero. And they even ended up taking away the story mode. I bet that you can tell this is a pretty heated topic for me, but this is a Pokemon video, not an Overwatch video. Listen, I completely understand if you're out here petitioning that Pokemon games should take longer to develop so we can get more polished games. I understand that. I wouldn't necessarily be against it, but don't be out here just complaining that the game is bad for all these stupid reasons without looking at the facts. Well, if you stuck around this long, you must really like me. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and it'll let you know whenever I upload. If you like this type of content, you want more hot take videos, you can hit that goofy little like button. But besides that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.